trillions of bacteria in your gut, and they're competing for food. And there's essentially two kinds, the good guys and the bad guys that thrive on sugars and fats. And as long as you're eating sugars and fats, the bad guys keep the good guys away. And that's why people feel tired all the time, they have skin blemishes, they have brain fog, they have low energy. No wonder you feel like you're under attack 24 hours a day. But here's the key. It's introducing foods that healthy gut bacteria have to grow and survive. So the good guys have a chance to outcompete the bad guys. Once the good guys take over, all of a sudden your energy lifts, your skin clears, no more bloating, no more heaviness. It's like everything is clear. This is a tomato. Think it's good for you? Think again. My name is Dr. Stephen Gundry, author of the best-selling book, Dr. Gundry's Diet Evolution. And I'm here today to blow your mind. You see, over the last 30 years of research and performing over 10,000 surgeries, I've discovered some shocking things about the human body. Things that hold the key to helping you feel smarter, drop unwanted fat, enjoy easier digestion, have better-looking skin, control cravings for fattening foods, more energy without caffeine, live longer, and feel decades younger than you actually are. I'm going to reveal all of these things in this video today. And here's the best part. You can do it all in your kitchen using ingredients that are likely already there. You may have heard the phrase, food is medicine. Today I'm going to show you how it works. If you found yourself not feeling your best lately, I'm also going to reveal 4 foods it may startle you to hear could be robbing you of your energy, ruining your digestion, and fattening your waistline. Nope, not carbs, not gluten. In fact, the whole anti-gluten craze has been blown way out of proportion. In just a minute, I'm going to show you something far more hazardous than gluten. My name is Dr. Stephen Gundry, and my thirst for medical knowledge began over 30 years ago when I was a student at Yale University. I'm currently the founder and director of the Center for Restorative Medicine, with locations in Palm Springs and Santa Barbara, California. I was professor and chairman of heart surgery at Loma Linda University School of Medicine and was chosen to join a group of 20 surgeons picked to implant the first implantable left ventricular assist device, or what is now known as the artificial heart. I also serve as the personal physician to self-improvement guru Tony Robbins, Oscar-winning actor Alan Arkin, and I'm also famous for operating on people who no other doctor wants to. Why does Tony Robbins trust me, a heart surgeon, with his personal health? It's because I've discovered some fascinating facts in my own personal journey to a body I'm proud of. Because you see, despite practicing medicine for 3 decades, I haven't always been healthy. In fact, it wasn't too long ago I was 70 pounds overweight. It's a bit embarrassing to admit, but it's true. Even we doctors can let bad health get the best of us. It can affect your happiness and your self-confidence. It makes us feel down, to be out of shape, to be judged by how we look, and not like what we see in the mirror. I created this presentation to show you the discovery that turned it all around for me. It's helped myself, my wife, and dozens of my patients feel and look better, even as we get older. It takes just 1 minute a day, and I now consider it the single most important thing you can do each day for your health. This will soon be appearing in several major magazines, featured on network TV stations, and published by HarperCollins in my next book coming in April 2017. However, because it's so important, I decided to create this report to share it with you personally, so that you can start using it yourself to feel slimmer, more energetic, and yes, younger, starting today. But before I share it with you, I have some bad news. In my personal journey to great health, I also discovered some dark secrets about health food that food manufacturers probably don't want you to know. My team of researchers and I have identified 4 fake health foods that could be making you fatter by clogging up the main power center of your body, your digestive tract. For example, did you know that there is a so-called health food that could be causing you to crave sugars and sweets? A healthy additive that's probably in your pantry that could be causing you digestive issues? A healthy snack that could be causing your skin to break out. I'm going to share all 3 of these with you in a couple of minutes, along with a 4th fake health food that causes twice as many food poisoning cases each year in America as seafood. If you're suffering from digestive problems, low energy, skin breakouts, lack of focus or loss of short-term memory, hormonal imbalance, or unwanted weight gain, pay close attention. Today, you're going to learn my new secret to improve your health in just 7 days. And while there is now a 6-month waiting list to come and see me at my practice, this is something that you can do at home. Now, while I created this public service report to help you feel better, look better, and hopefully live longer, if you have found yourself overweight like I was, you will especially want to pay attention. Because would you believe there was one so-called healthy snack that after I cut it from my diet, made my tummy look noticeably slimmer almost instantly? You may be snacking on this also, so I want to warn you about it. Because if you are, you can notice you feel slimmer and less bloated the same day you cut it out. But first, let me tell you about myself. While it's true, I'm known for my best-selling book, Dr. Gundry's Diet Evolution, that I'm flattered has a 4.6 star rating and 343 glowing reviews on Amazon.com, I never intended to be a diet expert. Releasing the book has been very humbling to me. If you go on the Amazon book page, you will see reviews that say things like, "A truly amazing program. I was one of the first to go on Dr. Gundry's program and lost 40 pounds. After 4 weeks, I've lost 11 pounds and feel great." And my favorite, by Vori on June 3rd, 2016, "I'm living proof. Lost 100 pounds. And my blood work was so good the doc thought the lab made a mistake. No willpower involved and never hungry." It makes me thrilled to see just how many people are experiencing life-changing transformations by taking my advice. Because I didn't start giving diet advice until very recently. My area of expertise was heart surgery, and I performed over 10,000 of them. And then, one day, I found myself, a respected doctor, 70 pounds overweight. It's amazing how excess weight can creep up on us, and it can happen to any of us. However, now I know it doesn't have to be that way. And despite being one of just 500 surgeons in the world who has had the honor of being inducted as a fellow of the American Surgical Association, my favorite way to help people change their lives for the better these days is no longer surgery. It's with food. I'm going to share with you today my number one superfood for total body transformation. This is a food you have never heard of before. However, my latest studies show it's really something you should be giving your body every single day. And if you're over the age of 40 and more than 10 pounds overweight, it becomes even more critical. When I explain what it is and how it benefits your digestive tract, you will be shocked you've never been told about it. But that's how the food industry wants it. Because when you're giving your body this superfood, you may find you no longer crave junk food. Oh, and before we get started, I feel it's important to tell you, I didn't put this report together to scare you into not eating the foods you love. Today, I'm also going to show you 3 foods you may have heard are bad for you that I recommend you consume daily. And one of them is a candy. Another is so delicious, my wife and I enjoy it with every meal. And the last will pump your body with energy that allows you to become more productive and feel smarter. And the more you eat these foods, the better you will feel. The better you will digest, the more energy you will have, and the more your skin will glow. And when you combine them with the number one superfood I'm going to share with you today, they can allow you to have a total body transformation, just like I did. Here's a photo of me today, 70 pounds lighter, with my lovely wife, Penny. I've kept the weight off, and I believe this superfood is the reason why. So get ready. What you're about to learn is very exciting. It's never been published in any book, on any website, or in any video before. In fact, I've only personally revealed this once. Last October, when I was honored to be the keynote speaker at the International Microbiotic Conference in Paris, France. In my career, I published over 400 papers in medical journals. However, not since my invention of my heart surgery device have my fellow doctors gotten so excited about one of my discoveries. It's been incredibly flattering, and the best part is there is now proven scientific evidence that it can transform the way you feel in just 7 days. If you've been struggling with managing your weight, or finding yourself with indigestion, gas, or bloating, or just not feeling as energetic as you would like to be, then I made this presentation specifically for you. So grab a pen and paper, turn your phone on silent, and close out any other programs. Because I promise you, Your time watching this video today will be the most important investment you've made in your health in a long time. Update. Since I first released this report in June 2016, I'm flattered to say it has gone viral. It's now being watched by thousands of people every single day, and my office has been receiving thank you notes and calls from around the world. For a doctor who used to be able to only help one patient at a time, this is very exciting. I want to thank all of you who have shared this important message on social media and with all your loved ones. Many have told me they know how it feels to have excess weight creep up on them, and how amazing it feels now to know what to do. I love getting cards like these, and most of all, I love seeing people experience results. And I want the next person who has results to be you. So let's get started. To begin, I need to show you another embarrassing picture of myself. Yep, that is me, a doctor who was 70 pounds overweight. I exercised as often as I could. I ate what I thought was a healthy diet. Yet, I still felt like crap. Today, I weigh a perfectly healthy 165 pounds. What turned it around for me? Well, there's a good chance it's the same thing that is holding you back from having the look you want. Now, I don't know about you, but I hate when people tell me that there are things I can't eat. That said, the 4 fake health foods I'm going to reveal to you now are things that you must know about. And I estimate 95% of people have not heard of these before. Here's the good news. Along with the foods I'm going to suggest you avoid, I'm going to tell you about 3 sweet treats that you can have, and that you may have heard were bad for you. These are treats my wife and I enjoy every day that I think you will like. Oh, and by the way, throughout this report, you're going to see little numbers like these. Those numbers are references to the clinical studies performed by my colleagues and I, along with researchers at major universities, which are the sources of the information you are about to hear. So you know everything you hear today is based on real science and has been proven out in clinical trials. That brings me to fake health food number 1, tomatoes. Now I know what you may be thinking, but Dr. Gundry, tomatoes? Really? Tomatoes are good for you, right? Well, not quite. You see, tomatoes contain a high amount of what are called lectins. Lectins are plant proteins that are incredibly bad for humans. Where do they come from? Well, what a lot of people don't realize is that not all plants like to be eaten. And since they can't get up and run away, they have had to come up with other ways to defend themselves. Lectins are plant proteins that wreak havoc on the stomachs of animals and bugs. What happens when a cricket eats a plant that contains strong lectins? Instant death. For humans, it's not quite as bad, but it's not good either. Lectins can actually penetrate the wall of your stomach, causing what is called leaky gut. Leaky gut can lead to indigestion, skin problems, joint aches. It's really bad news. We doctors and scientists are now just discovering how bad lectins really are for the human body. I was among the first to conduct a human clinical trial to prove my findings, which I presented at the American Heart Association's 2013 conference. We took 200 adults, 120 men and 80 women, ages 51 to 86, each of whom had vascular risk factors for heart disease, and asked them to replace high lectin foods like tomatoes with leafy greens, fish, olive oil, and animal protein. Here is what we discovered, and you can quote me on this as many others have. Simple removal of healthy, lectin-containing foods and taking a few inexpensive supplements may restore endothelial function to normal, which in turn can reverse high blood pressure, diabetes, and obesity. Tomatoes contain an extremely high amount of lectins, as do eggplants, potatoes, and peppers, which are all members of the nightshade family. Most of the lectins in tomatoes are found in the seeds or in the peel. That's why it is a tradition in Italy to only eat the inside pulp of a tomato, and why farmers created the Roma tomato, which contains a very high amount of pulp. They peel the tomato, cut it in half, squeeze out the seeds, and presto, now you have safe tomato sauce. Lectin-free diets are finally getting some popularity, as recently Tom Brady and his lovely wife Giselle made news when they went lectin-free. And Usher, the R&B singer and judge on the popular show The Voice, used my suggestions to get in great shape for his role as Sugar Ray Leonard in the movie Hands of Stone. I recommend you cut these foods from your diet as often as you can. And if you must eat tomatoes, go for the pulp. However, if you think you will have difficulty cutting out these things, pay close attention to the health food I'm going to warn you about next, as it contains some of the highest lectin content of all. That brings me to fake health food number 2, beans. Did you know that 20% of all food poisoning cases come from eating undercooked beans? Amazing, right? And the reason why is because beans contain a very high amount of lectins. The cooking process makes the lectins a bit more manageable for us humans. However, that does not mean we should eat them. I recommend my patients avoid beans if they can. But before I tell you the next thing I suggest you avoid, as promised, some good news. Here's the first sweet treat my wife and I enjoy every night: dark chocolate. Dark chocolate is made from the seed of the cocoa tree, and the darker you go, the better. I recommend at least 70% cacao. Dark chocolate is good for your heart. A recent study found it helps restore flexibility to the arteries while preventing white blood cells from sticking to the walls of your blood vessels. Not to mention, consumption of cocoa has been shown to reduce levels of bad cholesterol, LDL, and raise levels of good cholesterol, potentially lowering the risk of cardiovascular disease. However, when you get your chocolate, make sure it never contains the fake health food I'm about to reveal to you next. Fake health food number 3, cashews. Cashews are not nuts. They're actually a bean. Cashews contain lectins that are particularly effective in making your skin break out. I've seen patients get clear skin simply by cutting this one snack from their diet. No joke. Peanuts are not great for you either. 94% of humans have a preformed antibody to the peanut lectin. Not to mention, a lectin contained in peanuts has been found to cause male patients to develop colon cancer. So if you are male, it is even more critical that you cut peanuts from your diet. If you want to snack on a nut, I recommend walnuts, pistachios, or macadamia nuts. All 3 are very healthy, and none contain dangerous lectins. What about almonds? Those are just okay. The above 3 are better. But if you have a choice between cashews, peanuts, or almonds, pick the almonds every time. And that leads me to the next treat I suggest you enjoy: coffee. There's been much debate lately about whether or not coffee is good for you. Here's my take. Coffee is good for you, as long as you don't fill it up with stuff that is bad for you, like sugars, sweeteners, or dairy products. If you insist on a creamer, be sure to use hemp milk or coconut milk that has no sugar added. And if you insist on a sweetener, stevia is the only way to go. I'm going to warn you about another sweetener in just a minute that may be worse for you than even the next fake health food I need to tell you about now. Fake health food number 4, grains. Do you remember the snack I mentioned that made my waistline shrink when I stopped eating it? It was grains, particularly those found in brown bread. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but brown bread is no better for you than white bread. In fact, it's worse. As my friend Mark Sisson says, our digestive processes didn't evolve to maximize the effectiveness of grain consumption. Just because you can tolerate grains to a certain degree, as just about all of us can, doesn't mean your body was designed for them or that they're truly healthy for you. And actually, I'm sure you've heard about the whole anti-gluten craze. Well, actually, studies now show that only 1% of the American population is actually intolerant to gluten. And my own studies confirm this. So when people cut out gluten and feel better, it's usually not actually because they cut out gluten, but because by cutting out gluten, they also cut out lectins. And not only do grains contain a high amount of lectins, they also contribute to weight gain. Is it any surprise that when a farmer wants to fatten a hog for slaughter, he feeds it grains? If you cut grains from your diet, don't be surprised if you find yourself feeling slimmer and less bloated. And here's a treat you can also add to your diet that my wife and I love: extra virgin olive oil. We enjoy it with every meal we eat. It's one of the healthiest fats on the planet and contains oleic acid and oleocanthal, nutrients that can fight inflammation. Now, that does not mean you can eat grains if you dip them in olive oil. The inflammation grains can cause in your system can far overpower the olive oil benefits. Now look, I'm not here to tell you you have to completely cut out all foods containing lectins, or that you have to completely stop eating grains. I do highly suggest if you are male that you stop eating peanuts. That's just good common sense. And if you remember, earlier in this presentation, I promised to reveal a fake health food that could be causing you to crave sugars and sweets. Brown bread is what I was referring to. A piece of brown bread here and there isn't going to kill you. However, you may be wondering, how can that innocent loaf of bread lead you to eating other things that are bad for you? To explain, I want to take you on a fascinating journey that starts deep inside the human body. If you are going to keep eating bread or foods containing lectins, what I'm going to share with you now is even more important to your health. It's what made it possible for me to drop 70 pounds of fat with a simple 1 minute a day trick. Now, my results are not typical. I am in no way suggesting that if you do what I'm about to say that you will drop 70 pounds, or even 1 pound. You may not even be interested in managing your weight. However, what I'm about to share with you has health benefits that go far beyond weight management. So unless you've been sticking to an all-organic, meat-free diet, it's critical that you listen to what I'm about to say. What you are about to discover has never been published in any book, video, science journal, or anywhere else for that matter. I'm going to include it in my new book, which is being released by HarperCollins in 2017. However, in public, I've only shared it one time, when I was asked to speak at the International Society of Microbiota World Congress in Paris, France in October of 2015. It was there I presented this groundbreaking information to a room of 450 physicians from all around the world. When my presentation ended, one doctor stood up, then another, until the entire room erupted with a rousing standing ovation. And that was when I knew that this was just too important. I had to get it out into the world now, even if it meant leaking some of the content from my upcoming book. It's my number one key to feeling slimmer without crash dieting, having more energy to do the things you love, being in a happier mood, freeing yourself from digestive issues, as all of those things lead to having a healthier, younger-looking appearance. I know what it feels like to be judged for how you look, and I can also tell you, looking great is the best revenge. And I'm living proof that getting a great-looking body does not have to be a struggle other people have made it out to be. To start, we need to look inside. This here is your stomach. If you are constantly finding yourself craving sweets, fast food, carbs, or any other foods you know are bad for you, your stomach is where those cravings start. Something I've wondered ever since I was a student at Yale is, why don't we crave good foods that make us lean? And why does everything that tastes good have to be bad for us? Well, here's a fact about your own body that may startle you. You already know your body is made up of cells. However, did you also know that for every cell in your body, you have 9 microbes that are not human? Yes, you heard me correctly. Call them bacteria, microbes, or flora. But you have a lot of them living in your system, around 25 trillion to be exact. And scientists now know these microbes are just as important to our survival as our human cells. In fact, we could not even survive without them. They help us fight off infections and airborne illnesses. And most importantly, they help us digest the things we eat. Where do they come from? We get our first dose of microbes from our mothers as we come out through the birth canal. And to show you how important they are, we now know that babies born by C-section are much more likely to become sick during their first 6 months, as they don't have these critical microbes to help them fight off illness. As biologist Sarkis K. Mazmanian of the California Institute of Technology says, just because microbes are foreign doesn't mean they're any less a fundamental part of us. And I agree. It's only in the last 10 years we have begun extensively studying them. We now know that most of our microbes reside in our gut, which is your stomach, large and small intestines, and colon. It's there they help us digest the food we eat, and along the way, eat some of it for themselves. And get this, these microbes can send messages directly to your brain. They use your body's own hormones to communicate directly with your neocortex. When they communicate, your brain listens. You see, your brain relies on your microbes to know what's happening in your stomach, what you've been eating, how your food is digesting, and what foods you need more of. The way I tell my patients is to think of your microbes like a rainforest. There is an entire ecosystem of living organisms down there that call your digestive tract home. Your brain knows that keeping this rainforest healthy is critical to keeping your body healthy. So when your microbes tell your brain what they need, it listens. However, here's where things can go dangerously wrong. When I'm giving a lecture, I often ask the room, Raise your hand if as a child your parents gave you antibiotics. Most hands go up. Would you have raised your hand as well? Did you receive antibiotics as a child, or have you taken them within the last 2 years? I hate to say it, but in my opinion, antibiotics are one of the biggest curses that ever happened to us. I went to medical school in the Dark Ages, in 1973. Back in those days, broad-spectrum antibiotics had just come out, things like Keflex. They were miracle drugs because they allowed us to kill off most infections. However, we now know that antibiotics don't just kill off infections. One round of antibiotics kills off the entire rainforest of your good gut microbes as well. Remember the last time you had a sore throat or a cough? Many times when this happens, a person will take a week's worth of antibiotics. And when they do, their microbe rainforest is devastated. So think of your gut microbes as a lush rainforest, where there's this incredible ecology that's taken years to establish. Well, in one single week, you can completely wipe it out, just as if it was a real forest and a fire went through it. That's exactly what happens when you take antibiotics. And here's something else I tell my patients. Even if you have never taken antibiotics, you can also be in trouble if you eat meat regularly. Studies now show that antibiotics given to farm animals are passed on when they are eaten by humans. Every time you eat non-organically grown meat, you are essentially taking a low dose of antibiotics, which can kill off your good microbes. Now, I'm not going to tell you to stop eating meat. However, it is important that I now reveal to you that so-called healthy additive that's probably in your pantry that could be the result of all of your digestive issues. Because if you found yourself having digestive issues, that is your digestive tract screaming, help. Nod your head if you've ever had a Splenda in your coffee in the last 6 months. If so, I have some unfortunate news. Duke University showed in 2008 that 1 pack of Splenda kills off 50% of the microbes in your gut. And Splenda is also the main sweetener in many diet sodas. So if you've ever put Splenda in your coffee or drank a diet soda, you swallowed a bomb that destroyed your rainforest. Now, I want you to picture a real rainforest for me. And now, picture a forest fire coming along and wiping it out. Then, let's say we take some tree seeds and plant them in the ground. How long do you think it will take for a mature forest of trees and plants to grow back? If you said a really, really long time, you are right. Well, the same is true in your gut. We now know that 1 round of antibiotics can disrupt your good gut microbes for up to 2 years. And we now have scientific proof that these good microbes are critically important for weight management. For example, this is a friendly microbe known as H. pylori. Do you remember how I told you that these microbes can communicate with your brain? In a groundbreaking study performed at New York University, Martin Blaser, professor of internal medicine and microbiology, discovered that H. pylori communicates with your brain about one thing in particular. That is your ghrelin levels. What is ghrelin? Ghrelin is known as the hunger hormone. It's what tells your brain that you are hungry. When you wake up in the morning and want breakfast, it's because your ghrelin levels are high. After you eat, your ghrelin levels go down. And what sends the signal to ghrelin to go down is the good microbe H. pylori. However, in today's society, not everyone even has the microbe H. pylori. In fact, now less than 6% of American children test positive for it. Where does the H. pylori go? In most cases, it's wiped out by antibiotics. By the time they reach age 15, most children in America have had multiple rounds of antibiotics to treat various ailments. I'm not entirely against antibiotics. However, Professor Blaser speculates that the widespread use of antibiotics has altered the intestinal microbiome, and that this change may explain rising levels of childhood obesity. I completely agree. And this has been happening for decades. Many of these children are adults today. As Professor Blaser states in Scientific American, we have a whole generation of children growing up without H. pylori to regulate gastric ghrelin. When your ghrelin goes unregulated, you never feel full. It's that simple. You feel hungry longer and eat more than you should. It's clear evidence that a lack of good microbes could be making you gain weight. To make things worse, in your gut also live what I call bad microbes, or as I like to think of them, bad bugs. They consist of things like yeast, fungus, molds, and bacteria. One of the better-known bad bugs is called a candida, and it's perfectly normal to have a few bad bugs down there. That's the way ecosystems work. And normally, your good microbes keep them in check. But when you wipe out our good microbes with antibiotics, or Splenda, or eating antibiotic-treated meat, the bad bugs start to go wild. And soon, you have more bad bugs down there than good microbes. How can this further affect your weight management? Well, the bad bugs can send messages to your brain also. They hijack your vagus nerve, which is the direct connection between your gut and your brain. And then they start sending messages to your brain to eat the foods that they want to eat. And can you guess what kind of foods these bad bugs love? Sugars, refined carbohydrates, processed foods, and saturated fats. In other words, all of the things that make us fat. And the messages that they send our brains are incredibly powerful. Have you ever found yourself looking at a dessert and said, just one bite, but then you ate the whole thing? If so, consider the fact that it wasn't just you that wanted that dessert. I tell my patients, it's like the movie Little Shop of Horrors, where the plant wants to be fed blood. And he keeps saying to Seymour, the shopkeeper, "Feed me, Seymour, feed me." Well, that is essentially what the bad bugs are saying to your brain. Feed me, feed me. But not to feed them veggies or lean proteins or good fats. Oh no. They tell your brain to feed them more junk. The end result? We end up eating a bunch of crap. And it's not even our fault. I know, because it happened to me. Heck, it happens to a lot of us. Look at this chart of the rising obesity rate in America. If you found yourself reaching for pastas, breads, sugars, and sweets, or said yes to a dessert when you know you should have said no, it's not your fault, and you are not alone. In a landmark study conducted in 2014 and published that August in the science journal Bioessays, researchers from UC San Francisco, Arizona State University, and the University of New Mexico all agreed on this unanimously. They released a statement that rocked the medical community. After all, it's not often that three separate universities agree on anything. Here's what they said. Microbes influence human eating behavior and dietary choices to favor consumption of the particular nutrients they grow best on, rather than simply passively living off whatever nutrients we choose to send their way. Now, that's a bit scientific, so let me translate it into simpler words. Bad bugs can influence your food choices. And this is not just a theory. We now have real scientific proof. So if you've ever told yourself you would eat good one day, and then you caved in and ate something you shouldn't, now you know why. You see, the message bad bugs send to your brain is an irresistible message. And the more bad food you give them, the more insatiable they get. Sugars, carbs, fried foods, fast foods, sweets, pizza, pasta, potato chips, sodas. There are literally trillions of these bad bugs down there, and they want their bad foods. And as Carlo Meli, PhD and director of the UCSF Center for Evolution and Cancer, recently stated, bacteria within the gut are manipulative. There is a diversity of interests represented in the microbiome. Some aligned with your own dietary goals and others not. And of course, the more the bad bugs eat, the more they breed. Left unchecked, they begin spilling out of your digestive tract into other areas of your body. This can result in all sorts of problems, from yeast infections to skin breakouts to gas, bloating, indigestion, and of course, weight gain. For example, here is a specific bad bug that has been linked to weight gain. This bad bug is called Methanobrevibacter smithii. A recent study published in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism found that overweight people may be more likely to harbor Methanobrevibacter smithii in their intestines. A study was conducted in 792 people who had their breath analyzed. Researchers were checking for the presence of Methanobrevibacter smithii, and what they found was alarming. Those with the highest counts of Methanobrevibacter smithii were more likely to be heavier and have more body fat, and the researchers suspect that the microbes may be at least partially responsible for their obesity. Wild, right? But not surprising. I tell my patients to picture these bad bugs being like an invading army. They can take over an entire country just by brutality. And when they do, your good microbes go into hiding. And that's when the digestive problems start, when fat starts building up and your energy production goes down. Now, there is one piece of good news. If this sounds like it may be true for you, there is an easy fix. And once you fix it, it can allow all of the problems caused by bad bugs to go away, including any cravings you may be having for foods that can make you put on fat. You see, you don't necessarily have to kill off the bad bugs. You just need to nourish your good microbes, and they will take care of their house down there by themselves. In fact, it's amazing just how giving your good microbes the proper support can make the bad bugs go away. Once your microbe balance is restored, patients often report digestive issues, bloating, gas, and discomfort around eating disappears. And what happens next? Well, as my colleague, Dr. Raphael Kelman, MD, author of the Microbiome Diet, says, simply put, if you get the microbiome, that collection of bacteria inside of you, healthy, you will lose weight. And the best part is you don't have to stop eating your favorite foods. As Dr. Kelman also agrees, it's less about eating a certain percentage of carbohydrates, protein, and fat than about correcting the overgrowth of unhealthy bacteria, which is making you crave the wrong foods, triggering inflammation. So, what can you do? This brings me to my favorite part. It's the solution that worked for me after everything else I tried failed. Do you remember the superfood I mentioned to you earlier? That I said was my number one superfood for total body transformation? Well, get this. The superfood is not actually for you. It's for your good gut microbes. I'd like to introduce you to something called prebiotics. Prebiotics are a superfood for your good microbes. They cause our bacteria friends to flourish again so that you can start feeling better, metabolizing your food correctly, and find it easier to manage your weight. You see, while your good microbes may be in low numbers right now, they are still in your system. They may have been weakened by antibiotics, and they are probably starving, but they are there. You just need to give them some food, and they will start doing amazing things. Easier digestion, increased metabolism, converting more of the food you eat into energy instead of fat. Support of your immune system so you get sick less often. They can even take care of your skin. Here's the best part. Once you start giving your good microbes the food they need, they start sending the messages to your brain. And they want you to eat more good foods. This is when your cravings for junk food can begin to disappear. It's incredible just how effective feeding your good microbes can be, and how great it can make you feel. As researchers Athena Actipis, PhD, Carl O'Malley, PhD, and Joe Alcott, MD, all recently agreed in their 2014 Bioessays paper, because microbiota are easily manipulable by prebiotics, altering our microbiota offers a tractable approach to otherwise intractable problems of obesity and unhealthy eating. Now, prebiotics are not to be confused with probiotics, which you may have heard of. Here's the difference. Probiotics are beneficial good bacteria, kind of like the good microbes you already have in your gut. In theory, probiotics will work alongside your own microbes to help keep your bad bugs in check. Now, there is some truth to this. However, there's something about probiotics you must know. Yes, they are good microbes, but they are not your microbes, and they are not nearly as beneficial as your own. They spend a couple of weeks in your gut, then they leave. Why do they leave? Well, one of the reasons is because they have nothing to eat. That's why taking probiotics without also taking prebiotics is a huge waste of money. So if you've tried probiotics and haven't felt any results, this could be the reason why. The way I explain it to my patients is simple. Taking probiotics by themselves is like planting trees without giving the trees any water or fertilizer. Sure, you can enjoy the trees for a while, but soon, unless you feed them, they will soon die. Prebiotics, on the other hand, are a standalone solution, and clinical studies prove they work. A study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition showed that one of my favorite prebiotic ingredients, Bimuno, significantly increased levels of bifidobacteria in humans within just 7 days. Bifidobacteria are the most important type of good microbes we have in our bodies. They specifically stimulate the immune system, increase resistance to infection and diarrheal disease, reduce markers of chronic gut problems, and enhance overall gut health. It's been shown that most folks who suffer from IBS also have low numbers of bifidobacteria. I recommend boosting your bifidobacteria levels if you've been having even minor digestive issues. I've spent the last decade studying the human microbiome and the benefits of prebiotics. Over the last 8 years since my book has been released, I've been asked to recommend prebiotic formulas. And there are several brands out there that I've recommended in the past. However, it was a year ago I made a startling breakthrough. I figured out a way to make prebiotics many times more effective and was easy to do. You see, usually when a patient comes to me needing prebiotics, it's because their bad bugs have completely taken over. You know the signs. Finding it tougher and tougher to stay in shape. Digestive problems that don't seem to go away. Constantly feeling tired or fatigued. Yeast infections, bad breath, or fungal outbreaks. Or having cravings for junk food no matter how hard you try to eat healthy. What I realized is this. In addition to giving your good microbes what you need, you can tweak a prebiotic food compound so that it starves the bad bugs. What I've discovered after a decade of research is that different bugs eat different foods. So the trick is to give your good bugs the food that bad bugs can't eat, even if they tried. This starves out the bad bugs, and your good microbes flourish. They die off, so you feel healthier sooner. Then your good microbes can restore things back to order quickly, so that you can start feeling better faster. And when I say better, I mean experiencing more energy, less food cravings, and smoother digestion, which can lead to improved weight management and stubborn fat falling off of your body, as you no longer crave the foods that are contributing to it. It's amazing how you can not only look slimmer, but feel healthier and more alive. I think you'll agree, when you feel better and have more energy, you are more physically active. And getting out of the house more and doing more physical activity can lead to getting a great body all by itself. After making this breakthrough, I realized I had stumbled upon a master formula that would allow me to create a prebiotic more powerful than any that had ever existed. And once word got around of my discovery, a large supplement manufacturer reached out to me. However, I didn't like what they told me. They said that while my discovery would without a doubt lead to the most transformative microbe formula on the market, it would be too expensive to put into one compound. They wanted to package it as separate compounds and charge top dollar for each. You see, half of my complex is designed to nourish your good microbes, and the other half is designed to starve the bad bugs. They wanted to put it in 2 separate bottles, a prebiotic and an antifungal, and charge $65 apiece, which wouldn't be a terrible deal considering the power of these nutrients. However, I felt I could do better. You see, I've been practicing medicine since the 70s. I'm very proud of my discoveries, and I want them to be able to change as many lives as possible. And as many as my patients will tell you, this formula is a game changer. I firmly believe every single person in America could benefit from taking this formula daily, which is why my wife, daughters, and I take it every single day. I consider it more important than a daily multivitamin, and far more important than a daily probiotic, because if you don't give probiotics food, you aren't going to get their full effect. That even goes for the probiotics I personally recommend. So my team of researchers and I decided to take matters into our own hands. We scoured labs across the country, until finally discovering one that could produce the laboratory-grade compounds in the clinical strength required to see dramatic gut health improvements, and then put them both into the same compound, so my patients wouldn't have to buy 2 separate items. It took a few tries to get it right, but after many months of testing, finally, we did. And with that said, it gives me great pleasure to present to you